You're a bit to the side.
Hello, welcome to Radio FM 88 Australia. My name's Jeffrey Shaw. Above me is Julia Choi, and on the screen is the map of Australia. Tonight's show was originally having Dr. Jane, who is coming from Alice Springs, and we did a test trial at 4 o'clock this afternoon. But I can gratefully advise you that the NBN doesn't work in Alice Springs, and yet it's the home of the original telegraph that came from Darwin through to Adelaide. And Alice Springs was epicenter for that fantastic form of communication with the trek of all the camels. It was a huge big thing if you go to Alice Springs and you have a look around. But today the modern technology hasn't got into Alice Springs. So it's a bit of a shame there that Dr. Jane hasn't been able to come forth. Her knowledge, of course, would have been outstanding, dealing with ancient anthropology, the study of man. So the show must go on, and of course, myself have been out to Uluru, the Olgas, Kings Canyon, Palm Valley, and Alice. In fact, I've seen the Todd River flow twice, so I have to see it once more, and then I become a true Territorian, so they tell me. Anyway, without further ado, we are moving into the area of Central Australia, and as we lock in there to Uluru, and the reason we are here at Uluru is a significant aspect of here in the Southern Hemisphere. We have our summer solstice, approximately around the 21st of December. And of course, in the Northern Hemisphere, it's the winter solstice, and the shortest day of the year up there in the Northern Hemisphere. And of course, here in Central Australia, or down here in the Southern Hemisphere, it's the longest days. So we are tuning in onto this little spot here, and it's going to be a major location here. It's quite an interesting concept. I will say to you that anyone who has made the journey out to Uluru would find that you'll see another major monolith on the left-hand side, and one gets really confused to assume that it's actually Uluru. In fact, it's Mount Connor, and it's equally, if not bigger than Uluru itself. Now, with all that, I like to introduce Julia. Now she's sitting over to the left-hand side of the screen. So it's hello, Julia.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Welcome on this beautiful evening. Yes, everyone is excited because we are coming up to 21.1220, and everyone is excited because people are saying it's going to usher in the age of Aquarius. And there is apparently a prophecy that, and apparently the elders who are guardians of Uluru have already, from what we hear, already done a ceremony in October. There is a prophecy that the rainbow serpent is going to become a rainbow bridge, a bit like in Thor, and it will rise up and connect with the light of the sun, go straight into the heart of Mother Earth, as a result of which cleansing, energizing, and reinvigoration of Mother Earth will come, ushering a new era of consciousness for Mother Earth and her children, which is us. So we thought we would, a lot of my friends are excited and have been out there in January, and are going out next week and on the 18th to take part in that. And we just thought we would chat about that. And I know, Jeff, you've already heard other things have been done in advance in preparation for that.
Yeah, a lot of it's kept very quiet, and it's done for ceremony reasons, I suppose. But a good friend of mine discovered the law stick that had been owned by a medicine man some 100 or so years ago, and he was held in captivity, and the law stick was taken from him. He was a true blue medicine man in the ilk that Aborigine community would fully understand. This gentleman discovered this law stick early in the year, and he made the journey to the Uluru and handed it over to the elders, and then they proceeded to have a private ceremony, very private, in October. And the event that's taken place in December certainly corresponds with the December 21st and the summer solstice. You mentioned in your preface there about the rainbow serpent, and good friend of mine, Andrina, and I happened to be standing on the balcony when a huge big downpour took place in Queensland, and we took these photos and not realizing until we actually blew them up on the big desktop screen what we actually captured. And whether you call it the rainbow serpent, rainbow dragon, it's certainly you can see the image coming through quite strongly. And that was back on the 13th of January in 2011. So certainly, it's just not one singular date that this particular event's taken place. It's available to everyone anytime. It's just a matter of opening your consciousness, and sometimes you just need to open that door, don't you, and allow it to happen, and be there, be present.
Yeah, that's a really stunning picture. I just love the dragon curling around, and yeah, I think you're right. It's the forces of nature and forces of creation and destruction around us, and part of this little stage that we call Mother Earth, and she who clothes us. And without them we wouldn't exist. And, I believe that that is the direction we all have to, realization, and we have to start taking responsibility and move in that direction and connect. And that was, why the big excitement that that's going to happen. There's actually another prophecy that another friend of mine is quite excited about, and that comes from the Wingmakers out in Native American Indian ones. It reminds me of the sort of rainbow tribe, the rainbow prophecy, that all from all corners of the earth, the children of different generations of tribes will be unified and come together, regardless of color, creed, and race, in one common cause. So they're also expecting something to happen around the 21st 12th, and they believe that somewhere in the caves, somewhere on this earth, is hidden a capsule from the Wingmakers, and that will also come out. And but I certainly have been noticing, myself, that high dimensional energies are available to us. And if any of you are listening and have had experiences in Uluru or of the high dimensional energies, apparently there's a lot of spaceships that come out here as well. Do drop us a comment or a chat line. We'd love to hear from you. If you're headed out there, let us know.
Sure. So this photo here is of Mount Connor. So you can see it's almost like you see those photos of Cape Town, tabletop mountain, but this is actually Mount Connor. Some call it Mount Atlas. So you can see how mystifying this whole area is, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm.
So let's go back here into the trip that I made out to the centre was quite surreal, because we had a party of 22, and there's only 2 Australians on board, and we're both from Brisbane. And we arrived at the Rock. Let me pull it up. And so let's start with first. Here we go. Now, can you see something that's completely different that you normally would see when you go out to Central Australia?
Right.
You don't need to go to Specsavers there, Julia, but no, you're quite right. it's wet, yeah, and that's
Yeah.
very, very rare, isn't it? So let's just take a journey through the photos here, and of course, there we are.
Yeah.
There's the rock itself under cloud cover. I mean,
Mm,
these are very rare. I mean,
it is.
yeah, and to have Europeans on our trip very disappointed that they never saw the bright, colourful, daylight, that big yellow orb called the sun, and blue sky. They were very disappointed. I said, excuse me, how many people on this planet are witnessing what we're witnessing right now? Yeah.
Mm.
So, I mean, you just see the rich colours that are coming out of the rock. So, it's just, it's really quite spectacular.
Yeah.
It's of course, cameras have come a long way in the years when I first took these photos, but
Mm.
there's actually rain there. Um,
Yeah, it's lovely seeing the pictures because I mean, every piece of land also has a spirit. So, for our viewers, here you can connect with the spirit of Uluru and
you can see
talk to it
it
in your meditation.
brings out faces, doesn't it? Yeah,
Mm.
that's what I noticed when I was out there. It's quite primordial. It's almost like you're there at the early footsteps of man, and just those footsteps are vibrating through the earth itself, and that consciousness is available. Just a matter of when people are aware and wake up to it. And of course, this is the entrance to the climb that people undertook, but that was there's a ceremony there last year that stopped that from happening. So I have to say, I never felt tempted to go there anyway. So I can understand why people climb it, because people want to get to the highest point, don't they? I mean, the Catholic Church like to put all their churches at the top of mountains and top of hills, get the commanding view. Just continue through. I just, I mean, that's just amazing landscape in it. So if people who are making that journey out there, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21st, I was just extremely lucky to have it in such a nice temperature without the humidity. So it's something people have to be aware of when they make that journey out there, that you're going to be looking at 40 plus, 45, perhaps even 50 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, my girls were there last week, and it was by 10 o'clock. It was 36 degrees. Sorry, 39 degrees. Mm.
Yeah, so you definitely need to hydrate, and I'd certainly would suggest to people like surf clubs, how we used to say to people, keep away between 11 o'clock and 2:30, really. That's a prime time for getting cooked, isn't it? So I would certainly say the same for being out there at Uluru. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
Now, here's an interesting concept here, because in the legends of Alice Springs, there's an area set aside for women's business, and there's this area set aside for men's business. And I'll just leave the subject there, I think, rather than make it open for public consumption. Yeah, but I found it really exhilarating to go out to a place like that where there's no in European traditions, you've got the castles, and you've got all that rock and stone to sort of protect themselves and defend themselves, and they've got moats and all that stuff, and then they've got a history of music, and they've got artistry and painting and pottery and all that stuff, and it's quite interesting type of community that they've developed, and you feel quite claustrophobic in the sense that all those little units, little houses and all that stuff are sitting right on top of each other, and then all of a sudden you step out and you go to Central Australia, and it's almost like your energy just goes, oh, thank God, and you just go woof, and your energy just seems to go extremely for, seems like bloody kilometers. You just sense and feel the earth, and you can understand why, the local Indigenous people feel so closely connected to their country, because I felt it, and I'm sure anybody who's open to energy or just the fact that you go there and you know that you haven't got your neighbours, breathing down on you and not hearing noisy motorbikes or the screaming going on, just to go out there and hear the silence of the bush. In fact, it's not the silence of the bush. There is another sound. It's the sound of the earth. It's the sound of the wind. It just I find it a really exhilarating place to be, and a really wholesome place to go for your soul to get fed by just walking on the earth. I have to say,
Untainted earth. Sounds
yeah,
marvelous.
I put my hand up and say the local Indigenous people, you're very lucky people. Yeah. And you can't put $1 million on it, or $5 million, or $10 million. It's the land, and you walking with it, and I fully understand it. And of course, at night, I've never been so closely connected to the fact that when I go to sleep at night there, it's almost like I remember this one particular night I woke up with a startle because there was a group of Aborigine people, hunters is the best way to explain it, in spirit, came right through the camp and right through the bloody tent. Boom, 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 and they went straight through me. And I thought, oh my God, how close is the veil here? This is a really amazing place. Yeah.
Yeah, and good on the local guardians for keeping it free of, resisting the temptation to make money out of it and commercialize it, just staying pure to their roles and standing up for that as well.
I remember going into Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, and went in there and they had a full service, and us tourists came in, and of course we lacked decorum is the best way to say it, because I remember like 30 people just got their cameras out and were taking photos, and all these flashes are going off, and a woman who was a French woman just turned around and she just no, and I'm guilty, mate. I'm guilty going into the Notre Dame to be there where there's a ceremony taking place and taking photos of this magnificent Notre Dame Cathedral. It was on my bucket list, and here I am, just happened to walk in where they're doing mass. And I can understand why the local Indigenous people are saying, excuse me, respect what we've got here,
Yeah. So I guess to our audience, if you're listening now or in the future, if you are one of the elders or Indigenous, or if you've been to Uluru and you've been on the 21st December, we'd love to hear from you. Get in touch with us when we come back from the break next year. We'd love to have you on the show. Tell us what your experience was of, apart from what forecast, what really happened, and inspire us on dreaming the new dream with Jeffrey Shaw and myself, Julia Chai.
Right. So I just want to bring up here that for those people who are around the world, I'm not too sure if you can actually see that, but this event has been locked and loaded with a world clock fixed time. So whilst this event is taking place in Central Australia, which is on its own Central Australian time, it doesn't jump to daylight savings. So for those people, and of course Central Australia operates 30 minutes behind Queensland, and for our viewers in New South Wales and Victoria and Tasmania, you guys are on daylight savings. So this particular time here that says 8 o'clock, this is purely because where we are, the desktop's picked up our time slots at 8:02, but that'll be 9:02 for you in New South Wales and Victoria, and that'll be 11 o'clock at night in New Zealand. So so I've got a whole particular page there. What I'll do is I'll just copy that, I think, and see if I can't put that into the Facebook group, or not the Facebook group, into the banner here, so that people can actually click on it themselves. That'd be the go. Now there is a really good Facebook page that Trish Levitt put together, isn't she? That would be ideally suited for people to have a quick jump on and find out what's going on. And would that be?
Yes, I believe Trish Levitt is organising or is involved in ceremony around that date for that occasion, and she's on Facebook, and you can connect with her. And of course, if you're in Alice Springs, I do suggest that you can collect with our intended guest who runs the Red Heart Centre in Alice Springs, Dr. Jane Suming Lai. She's done a lot of ceremonies and also worked with Luka elders and has permission from Uncle Bob Randall, who's quite famous, to share the principles of Kanyini, which means actualization of oneness with the earth, just recognizing, going into unity consciousness and acting out of it. That's what we can learn from the local Indigenous, and that's also the message that they're trying to keep alive amongst the younger generations.
Right. Okay. So I've just put that Facebook site for Trish there, and let's see if we can't bring it up. Okay, so it's a Facebook site. I'll just put it down here for people to have a look. There it is there. And then, okay, so there's a little thing that's open for the public for this particular Facebook site. It speaks about global meditations. You don't physically have to go to Uluru, but you can do it in your own part of the world. I mean, your sole is of your feet are touching the earth if you're doing that. Fantastic. And if you're drinking some of the waters of our enriched earth, that's fantastic. Those who wish to hug a tree, but I think it's more important to hug another person, another human. I think that's more important today is the touch,
So a big hug going out to Vicky Cunningham and Kate St. Clair. So thanks for joining us. And Kate St. Clair's asking, so for Townsville, is it 8:04 to 9:30?
Pardon me, what was that question?
She's asking for Townsville, is it 8:04 to 9:30? I think that was based on the time clock that you were looking at earlier.
8:02, love.
8:02,
yeah. Hey, Kate, it's quite fantastic. All right. Is there anything else we need to talk about? Because I think most people realise consciously that
we can't talk about this. We're not authorised. So. Yeah, sorry, folks. Again, I mean, out of 25 shows, this is the first one where we've had technical difficulties that beat us. But anyway, thanks for joining us, and Jeff, thanks for hosting us. And next week is the last session before Christmas. We have Evie Friggin coming on the show. She is a musician and artist, and she has put together a beautiful CD with affirmations and spiritual inspirations on that. So we'll be finishing the show with a creative person next week.
I've actually had a listen to the introduction, and I have to say I was really, really impressed with what she had to offer. And Christmas can be a lonely time for people, and if you were just to have a listen into this particular lady and her inspirational words and comments, I think they're certainly uplifting. And anybody who's a budding musician probably could use those words and put them to music, and who knows. She could be
That's right. Remember, anytime the difference between a good situation and a bad situation is just our perspective. And people put out beautiful words and sounds to help us shift that perspective.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
And, to Dr. Jane, we apologise. Never took you on board. It's NBN for you. And Auntie Minnie Mace, be nice to catch up with you and your brother again. That'd be a wonderful situation there. And Auntie Robin at Tumba, give my thoughts out to you as well. Okay, we're signing off.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
Have a lovely week. Thank you.